Hello, it's Simon Zutshi here. I'm the author of Property Magic, the Amazon #1 property bestseller, and also I'm the founder of the Property Investors Network, which is the largest network in the UK of monthly meetings all over the UK to provide a supportive environment for you to learn more about successful investing. In this short video, I'm going to talk to you about a strategy which is very popular these days called rent to rent or rent to multi-let. Now here's the basic concept. You go and find a property that for whatever reason isn't renting out. Usually it's a larger property that's normally being let on a single let basis. And you speak to the owner and say, look, I would love to take this property on for maybe a 3 to 5 year period and give you a guaranteed rent over that time. Now imagine if you're the owner of a property, one of the problems is that potentially you get void periods, we have no tenants. If someone's offering you a 3 to 5 year guaranteed rent with no voids, no maintenance, that can seem very, very attractive. So you can take a property on like that, generally a single let basis, and then you can multi-let the property, renting out multiple rooms and massively increase the revenue from that particular property. So you pay a certain amount to the landlord, you rent it out for this amount, and the profit is the difference in between. Now in a multi-let property, normally you pay the bill, so you need to take that into account. But this can be an incredibly profitable strategy. We have many of my students utilising this, and they're making between £500 to £1,500 a month profit from every single property which they don't even own. Now, there are a couple of really important things here. First of all, we are very open and transparent with the owner of the property exactly what we're doing. We're not trying to sublet the property illegally, we're being very clear. And there are two ways we can do this. The first is we become a bit like a management agent. We take on the property, we give a guaranteed rent to the owner, and then we re-rent out the rooms and issue AST contracts on their behalf. Or the second way is we do a commercial lease, a 3 to 5 year lease, where under that we can issue our own separate ASTs. So we're not doing any subletting. The challenge many investors have is when they try and explain this to letting agents and estate agents, because they don't really understand it themselves, they explain it the wrong way, and quite rightly the letting agents say, oh, you can't sublet a property. So it's about understanding how this works and how to position it. So how do you find these properties? Well, the first way is you can look for adverts, private adverts from landlords in newspapers and on the internet who are looking to let out their properties. If they're struggling to let the property, the idea of getting a guaranteed rent for a certain period of time can seem very, very appealing. Also, you can go to letting agents who've got a property, and you've got to make sure you think about it from the letting agent point of view. They don't want to lose out. So very often we can rent the property from the letting agent at the standard rent. They still get their commission on a monthly basis. We take it over, and because we can multi-let the property, that's how we can get an uplift in the rent and thus make some profit. We need to make sure we maintain the property. We've got to look after it because obviously we need to give it back to the owner in the same condition that we took it on in the first place. If it's a normal house, we might need to spend some money on fire doors and fire alarms, and we'd only really want to do that if there was a significant uplift in the rent, so we get that money back in a very short time period. Remember, this is just a rent to rent. We're renting the property for a fixed period. It's not an option, we don't get control of the property, so you might want to limit the amount you're prepared to spend on it. Sometimes we can pick up properties that are already completely set up as HMOs. Maybe the landlord's had a bit of difficulty renting it out, or they're just retiring and they don't want the hassle anymore. So sometimes you get a property which needs literally nothing doing to it. You do need to recognise though, this is a strategy a lot of people use when they don't have a lot of money, and it's kind of people see it as an easy way to get into property. Please be prepared. The very reason some people are happy to give you this property is often because they've been struggling to rent it out. Often properties do need a little bit of money spending on them to bring them up to a rentable state. So people think it might be a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not really, it's just a clever strategy, but you do need to know what you're doing. If you're renting the rooms out on a multi-let basis, you have to make sure there's demand in the local area for that kind of accommodation. And we always recommend you go onto a website such as spareroom.co.uk, check what's the actual demand in that area. That's a website that advertises rooms to people who are looking for these kind of multi-let rooms. Check there's demand. You can even place a dummy ad to see what kind of response you get. There's got to be a good supply of people who want to come in at that affordable rent. You've also got to make sure all the numbers stack up. You want to make at least £100 profit on every single room. So if you've got a 6-bedroom property, you need to make a minimum of £600, taking into the account also you need to pay for all the bills in the property as well. So you've got to make sure you're really careful on your figures and your sums, and also you've got to be really hot on getting tenants into the property very, very quickly. If you have 1 or 2 rooms empty in a property at any one time, that's probably all your profit disappearing. So I don't think it's an easy strategy, but it's quite a straightforward strategy, which in the right area, and if you're determined, could give you very good cash flow. So I wanted to give you a quick overview of this to give you a flavour of the strategy. We go into a lot more depth on our various training programs, but I hope this has given you an idea if this is a strategy that might work for you in your local area. My name's Simon Zutshi. Thank you for watching.